My name is John Lewis Miller. I'm 52 years old, and I live in a quiet town in the Midwest. I never thought my life would change so much in an instant, but it did. This morning I woke up early as always, at 5 o'clock sharp. I don't need an alarm clock. My body already knows when it's time to get up to take care of Caleb. For 7 years, my routine has been the same. I slip out of bed without making a sound so I don't wake up Mary, my wife. I make breakfast, and then I go to my son's room to help him wash up, get dressed, and start his day. "Good morning, son," I say as I open the curtains. "How did you sleep?" Caleb, who just turned 18, looks at me from his modified bed. His face always shows a mix of resignation and affection that breaks my heart. "Okay, Dad, but my back hurts a little," he answers in a sleepy voice. "I'll help you with the exercises, Doctor Peterson recommended in a bit." I tell him while I get his things ready for his shower. It wasn't easy to install everything Caleb needed after the accident. We had to adapt the bathroom, put in support bars, a special shower chair, and buy a hospital bed. Everything changed that day 7 years ago when he fell down the stairs at school. He was only 11. The doctors said the injury to his spine affected his mobility from the waist down. He wasn't completely paralyzed, but his legs lost almost all their strength and feeling. "Dad," he says while I help him sit up, "can we go to the park today after therapy?" "Of course, kiddo. If Dr. Rogers gives us the green light after the checkup, we'll head straight there." While I help him with his morning shower, I remember the life I had to leave behind. My auto repair shop was my pride and joy. Miller's Auto, the sign I painted with my own hands, said, 20 years of hard work, loyal customers, and the satisfaction of fixing any engine that came in, no matter how damaged it was. But when Caleb had his accident, I didn't think twice. I sold the shop to my buddy Henry and dedicated myself completely to taking care of my son. "Dad, can you pass me the towel?" Caleb's voice pulls me out of my thoughts. "Sorry, son." I was distracted, I say, handing him the towel. After getting him dressed, I take him in his wheelchair to the dining room. Mary is already awake, making coffee. Since I stopped working, she took on the financial burden of the house. She got a good position as a manager at an export company, and thanks to that, we can afford Caleb's therapies and medications. "Good morning," she says without looking at us. "Breakfast is almost ready." "Good morning, Mom," Caleb responds enthusiastically. "Today we're seeing Dr. Rogers for the quarterly checkup." I notice Mary tense up slightly when she hears this. It's barely noticeable, but after 23 years of marriage, I know every one of her gestures. "Is that today?" she asks, while pouring the coffee. "I thought it was next week." "No, it's today," I reply. I wrote it on the kitchen calendar. Mary looks at the calendar and nods with a gesture I can't quite figure out. "It's just that I have an important meeting today, and I won't be able to go with you," she says, placing plates of scrambled eggs in front of us. "Don't worry, I've got it," I tell her. "It's not the first time we've gone alone." Breakfast passes in a strange silence. Mary is constantly checking her phone, something that annoys me but I've learned to tolerate. "It's for work," she always says when I mention it. "What time will you be back?" she asks suddenly. "I don't know exactly. After the appointment, I want to take Caleb to the park, if the doctor approves." Again, I see that tense look on her face. "I don't think that's a good idea," she says sharply. "You know Caleb needs to rest after his checkups." "But Mom—" "I feel fine," Caleb chimes in, "and I haven't been anywhere other than the hospital or therapy in a long time." I said no, she replies, raising her voice. "Do you want to risk your health for a whim?" I look at Caleb and see the disappointment in his eyes. It hurts me to see him like this. "Mary, there's no need to talk to him like that," I say quietly. "Dr. Peterson said last week that Caleb is making progress, and that a little fresh air would do him good." "And since when do you know more than I do about what's best for our son?" she retorts sarcastically. "Do you pay for his medicine or his therapies?" Those words hit me like a punch to the gut. It's true that she's the one supporting the house financially now, but I dedicate every minute of my life to caring for Caleb. I swallow my pride, as I have so many times in recent years, because I don't want to argue in front of my son. "All right," I say finally. "We'll come straight home after the appointment." Mary smiles, satisfied. She gets up, grabs her purse, and goes over to Caleb. She gives him a kiss on the forehead. "It's for your own good, sweetie," she says with a sweetness that clashes with her earlier attitude. "I promise I'll take you wherever you want this weekend." "Okay, Mom," Caleb replies, resigned. Before leaving, Mary hands me an envelope. Dr. Rogers always wants the printed lab results, she tells me. Don't lose them like last time. I didn't lose them, I reply. The nurse kept them. Mary makes a dismissive gesture and leaves the house. I hear her car's engine fade into the distance. Dad, Caleb says when we're alone, why is Mom always so tense? It's work, son, I reply, though I'm not convinced myself. She's under a lot of pressure. I finish washing the dishes and get everything ready to leave. The hospital is a 20-minute drive away. I help Caleb get into the car and put his wheelchair in the trunk. On the way, I try to cheer him up. If everything goes well with the doctor, we can go to the park this weekend. What do you think? Really, Dad? His eyes light up. And will Mom let us? I'll take care of convincing her, I assure him, although I'm not sure how I'll do it. When we get to the hospital, we're greeted by Dr. Sarah, Dr. Rogers' assistant. She's a young woman, in her 30s, with a kind smile that always calms Caleb down. Good morning, Mr. Miller. Caleb, she greets us. Dr. Rogers had an emergency and won't be able to see you today. Really? I respond, surprised. So we'll have to make another appointment? No, don't worry, she says. Dr. Morris, who recently joined the hospital, will see you. He's a specialist in spinal injuries, like Caleb's. I'm not very comfortable with the sudden change, but we have no choice. Doctor, Sarah leads us to a different office than the one we usually visit. Dr. Morris is waiting for us there, a man in his 50s, serious-looking but with a kind gaze. Nice to meet you, Mr. Miller, Caleb, he greets us, shaking our hands. I'm Dr. Edward Morris. I'll be covering for Dr. Rogers today. The pleasure is ours, Doctor, I reply, though I still feel uneasy about the change. All right, let's see, he says, reviewing a file. Caleb Miller, 18 years old, spinal injury from a fall, 7 years ago. Continuous treatment with Dr. Rogers since then. That's right, I confirm. He's made slow but steady progress. Dr. Morris nods and approaches Caleb. May I run a few tests on you, Caleb? He asks in a professional but gentle tone. Yes, doctor, my son replies. For the next half hour, I watch as Dr. Morris performs various tests on Caleb. Some are similar to the ones Dr. Rogers regularly does, but others are completely new. I notice something strange in the doctor's expression as he examines my son, especially when he tests the sensitivity in his legs. Mr. Miller, he says finally, did you bring the results of the latest tests and x-rays? Yes, doctor, I reply, handing him the envelope Mary gave me this morning. Doctor. Morris carefully reviews the documents. His expression becomes increasingly serious, even worried. He looks back and forth between the papers and Caleb. Then he looks at me. Mr. Miller, would you mind if I spoke with your son alone for a moment? He asks professionally. Is there a problem, doctor? I ask, alarmed. No, it's not that, he replies quickly. It's part of the protocol with adolescent patients. We give them a space to express any concerns they might not want to share in front of their parents. Although it seems strange, I agree and step out into the hallway. I wait for about 10 minutes, restless, wondering what the doctor is talking to my son about. When they finally call me back in, I notice Caleb has a confused, almost scared expression. Is everything okay, son? I ask him. Yeah, Dad, he replies, but his voice sounds uncertain. Dr. Morris asks me to sit down. Mr. Miller, he says, in a grave tone. I need to ask you a few questions about Caleb's accident and his subsequent treatment. Of course, doctor, I reply, getting more and more worried. According to the file, Caleb fell down the stairs at his school 7 years ago. Is that correct? Yes, doctor. I was at my shop when they called me. When I arrived, he had already been taken to the hospital. Dr. Rogers was the one who treated him from the beginning. And did you see the original results of the X-rays and MRIs? Yes. Well, Dr. Rogers explained them to us. I don't understand much about those things, but I trusted his diagnosis. Dr. Morris nods slowly, as if processing information. And your wife? Was she also present during those explanations? Yes, we've always gone to the important appointments together, although lately she's been very busy with her work. The doctor reviews the documents I gave him again. Then he gets up, goes to a light box on the wall, and puts up an X-ray. Mr. Miller, have you ever noticed anything unusual in your son's behavior? Any movement that doesn't match the diagnosis? I don't understand your question, doctor, I reply, starting to feel truly alarmed. Dr. Morris looks at me intently, as if hesitating about what he's going to say next. Finally, he comes closer to me and lowers his voice. Mr. Miller, I need you to remain calm about what I'm about to tell you. His words send a chill down my spine. There are serious inconsistencies in your son's medical file. What do you mean? I ask, feeling like I can't breathe. The doctor looks toward Caleb, who is watching us with an anguished expression, and then looks back at me. He comes even closer and, almost in a whisper, says, "Don't sleep at your house tonight. Call the police." His words hit me like a lightning bolt. I feel the world stop around me. I don't understand what's happening, but fear takes over. "What?" is all I can manage to say. "I can't explain more right now," he continues whispering. "There are cameras here. I need to run more tests, check previous records. But something isn't right, Mr. Miller. Something isn't right with your son's diagnosis. I'm frozen, not knowing what to say or do. Doctor." Morris steps back, regains his professional tone, and says aloud, "I'm going to prescribe some painkillers for Caleb's back pain, and I'd like to see him again next week for a follow-up." He hands me a prescription and a card. "My personal number is on the back," he says quietly as he shakes my hand goodbye. "Call me when you're in a safe place." We leave the office with Caleb. My son looks at me, confused. "What did the doctor say to you, Dad?" "You turned pale." "Nothing important, son," I manage to reply, though I feel like my whole world is falling apart. "Let's go home. The entire way back, doctor." Morris's words echo in my head. "Don't sleep at your house tonight. Call the police." What does that mean? Why would he say something like that? I look at Caleb in the rearview mirror. He's looking out the window, oblivious to the storm raging inside me. "Dad, are you okay?" he asks suddenly. "You're very quiet." "Yeah, son. I'm just thinking about what the doctor said," I reply, trying to make my voice sound normal. "About my new medication?" "Yes, that's it. I don't want to worry him, but I also don't know what's happening. I need time to think, to understand Dr. Morris's words. But most of all, I need to protect Caleb. When we get home, I notice Mary's car isn't there. It surprises me, since she normally doesn't get back from work until 7 at night, and it's barely 2 in the afternoon. I help Caleb get out and we go inside. Everything seems normal, but the doctor's words have changed my perspective. Now I look at my home with suspicious eyes, looking for something, though I don't know exactly what. "What would you like to eat, son?" I ask as I settle him on the living room sofa. "Anything is fine, Dad, but I'm more sleepy than hungry. I think the medicine Dr. Morris gave me is making me drowsy." I get a little alarmed. The doctor didn't mention the medication would cause drowsiness. "Did you take something at the hospital?" "Yeah. The nurse gave me a pill when you were talking to the doctor. This seems strange to me. I don't remember any nurse giving Caleb medication." But before I can ask more, I hear a key turning in the front door lock. It's Mary. "You're home early," she says when she sees us, in a tone I can't tell if it's surprise or annoyance. "Yeah, there weren't many people at the hospital today," I reply, watching her carefully. "And how did it go?" she asks, setting her purse on the table. "Fine," I answer without giving details. Although Dr. Rogers wasn't there, another doctor saw us. Mary stops for a second, almost imperceptibly. But I notice it. "Another doctor? Who?" "A Dr. Morris. He said he just started at the hospital." Mary nods slowly. "And what did he say?" "The usual. That Caleb is progressing slowly. He prescribed some new painkillers for his back pain. I decide not to mention the doctor's disturbing words. Something tells me I need to be cautious." "That's great," she says, visibly more relaxed. "And you, sweetie?" she says to Caleb. "How are you feeling?" "Tired." "Mom, I think I'm going to take a nap." "Of course, honey," she says with a sweetness that now seems excessive. "Get some rest." I help Caleb to his room. When I come back to the living room, Mary is on the phone, talking quietly. When she sees me, she hangs up quickly. "Who was that?" I ask. "Work," she replies curtly. "Have you eaten yet?" "No. I was about to make something." "I'll do it," she says. "You must be tired too." Her sudden kindness puzzles me. Normally after a day of work, she's the one who expects me to make dinner. While Mary cooks, I sit on the sofa pretending to watch TV, but my mind is racing. Doctor. Morris's words, Mary's strange behavior, the medicine supposedly given to Caleb at the hospital, everything is spinning in my head. My phone vibrates. It's a text from a number I don't recognize. It's Dr. Morris. "Are you alone to talk?" I look toward the kitchen. "Mary is busy," I reply quickly. "No, my wife is home." Almost immediately, I get another message. I understand. Call me when you can talk privately. It's urgent. I put my phone away just as Mary comes out of the kitchen. Who was that? She asks. Nobody important, I reply. A message from the phone company. We eat in an uncomfortable silence. Mary tries to make small talk, asking me about trivial things, but I can barely concentrate on answering. My mind is elsewhere. Is something wrong? She finally asks. You're very quiet. I'm just tired. I lie. It's been a long day. Why don't you get some rest too? She suggests. I'll do the dishes. Her insistence that I rest is becoming more and more suspicious. But I agree. I need a moment alone to think. In our bedroom, I close the door and take out my phone. I hesitate to call Dr. Morris. What if Mary hears me? I decide to send another message. Can you explain what's happening? The reply comes quickly. I found serious discrepancies in your son's medical reports. The x-rays you gave me today don't match the symptoms Caleb is presenting. I need you to come to the hospital tomorrow, but not with your wife. Bring Caleb. And for your safety, seriously consider what I told you before. My heart is pounding. What is he implying, that the x-rays are fake? That Mary is involved in something shady? It seems impossible, but doubts begin to grow inside me. I decide to do a little investigating. I leave the room quietly and go to Mary's study. I know she keeps important documents in a locked file cabinet, but I also know she hides the key in the third drawer of her desk, under some papers. The house is quiet. Caleb must still be sleeping, and I can hear Mary in the kitchen, washing dishes. I go into the study and close the door silently. I quickly find the key and open the file cabinet. There are folders organized by topic: house, work, banks, Caleb. I take the last one. Inside is a series of medical reports, all signed by Dr. Rogers. I skim them, looking for anything that stands out, but I don't understand the medical jargon. What I do notice is that there are monthly reports, all identical in format. Only some numbers and values change. At the back of the folder, I find something unusual. Receipts for bank transfers in Dr. Rogers' name, but they aren't payments for medical consultations. They are large sums, deposited regularly, and they don't match the dates of our hospital visits. My mind starts connecting the dots, but I resist believing what I'm thinking. Mary bribing a doctor? For what? Nothing makes sense. I hear footsteps approaching. I quickly put everything back in its place. I lock the file cabinet and put the key back where it was. I sit at the desk and pretend to look at some bills on the table just as Mary opens the door. What are you doing in here? She asks suspiciously. I was looking for Caleb's health insurance receipts. I reply without looking at her. I want to check the coverage. I take care of that, she says, coming closer. You don't have to worry about that. I know, but I'd like to understand it better. After all, I'm the one who takes Caleb to all his appointments. Mary stares at me, as if sizing me up. They're in the blue folder, in the file cabinet, she says finally. But it's locked and I can't find the key. She's testing me. She knows exactly where the key is. I see, I reply calmly. Well, it doesn't matter. You can explain it to me later. I get up and head for the door. Why the sudden interest? She asks before I leave. You've never cared about the paperwork before. It's not sudden, I lie. I've always been interested, but I trusted you to handle it. Now that Caleb is getting better, I want to be more involved in all aspects. Getting better. Her tone changes completely. What exactly did that doctor tell you? Just that the exercises are working and that Caleb is showing signs of more sensitivity in his legs. Mary seems to relax a little. Oh, right. Dr. Rogers mentioned that last time, too. But you know the process is very slow, right? We shouldn't get our hopes up. Of course, I know. I leave the study and go check on Caleb. He's still asleep. I sit beside him and watch him. He looks so peaceful, so vulnerable. Is it possible that, for all these years... No, I don't even want to think about it. But the seeds of doubt have been planted. I decide I need to talk to Dr. Morris as soon as possible, but I can't leave Caleb alone with Mary. Not after what I saw in those documents. I send another message to the doctor. Can we meet tonight? It's urgent. The reply comes almost immediately. I'm on call. Come to the hospital at 10 p.m. Ask for me in the ER. Now I need to find an excuse to leave tonight without raising suspicion. I go back to the living room where Mary is watching TV. I'm worried about the car, I say, sitting next to her. It's making a strange noise in the engine. I think I'll take it to Henry's shop tonight. Tonight? She asks, surprised. Can it wait until tomorrow? I'd rather take it now. Tomorrow we have to go back to the hospital for Caleb's blood work. Remember? Mary looks at me suspiciously but nods. All right, but don't be too long. At 9:30, I leave the house with the excuse of going to the shop. Instead, I head to the hospital. My mind won't stop racing over everything that's happening. Is it possible that Mary, my son's mother, the woman I've shared more than 20 years of my life with, is deceiving me in some way? And what does Caleb have to do with all this? I get to the hospital and ask for Dr. Morris in the ER. The nurse directs me to wait in a small consultation room. A few minutes later, Dr. Morris comes in, closing the door behind him. Mr. Miller, thanks for coming, he says, shaking my hand. We don't have much time, so I'll get straight to the point. He takes out a folder and opens it on the table. These are the X-rays and MRIs your wife gave me today through you, he says, pointing to some images. And these are the ones I just pulled from the hospital's old archives. He places both sets of images side by side. Even with my medical ignorance, I can see they're different. These, he points to the first set, show a severe injury to the spine at the L3, L4 level, with compression of the spinal cord. This type of injury would explain Caleb's partial paralysis. Then, he points to the second set. But these, which are the originals taken when Caleb was admitted 7 years ago, show only a mild sprain and a contusion, nothing to justify paralysis of any kind. I stare at the images, unable to process what I'm seeing. What does this mean? I finally manage to ask. Dr. Morris looks at me gravely. It means, Mr. Miller, that someone has been falsifying your son's medical reports for years. Someone with access to the hospital's system and enough medical knowledge to maintain this charade. Dr. Rogers is one possibility, but he would need an accomplice. Someone close to Caleb who could maintain this situation at home. He doesn't say Mary's name, but we both know who he's referring to. But why? I ask, feeling the world crumble around me. Why would they do something like this? That's what we need to find out, the doctor replies. But the most important thing now is to confirm Caleb's real condition. I need to examine him again, without your wife present, and I need to run tests that Dr. Rogers apparently never did, or if he did, he hid the results. Are you saying my son might not actually be paralyzed? The question comes out of my mouth almost as a whisper. It's a possibility we can't rule out. The doctor responds cautiously. The tests I did on him today showed normal reflexes in his legs, which is incompatible with the type of injury described in these fake reports. Also, when I spoke with Caleb alone, I noticed a certain reluctance to talk about his condition, as if he was afraid. His words hit me like a hammer. Caleb faking it? No, my son wouldn't do something like that. But then, what is happening? Doctor, I say, trying to stay calm, are you suggesting that my wife and Dr. Rogers have been deceiving Caleb and me for all these years? That my son doesn't really need a wheelchair? That he could walk? I'm not stating anything with certainty yet, he responds cautiously. I'm only showing you evidence of serious irregularities. But yes, that is a possibility we must consider. And if so, it's a very serious case of medical abuse. I run my hands over my face, trying to absorb what I'm hearing. What should I do? I ask finally. For now, act normally, he replies. Don't confront your wife yet. We need more evidence. Tomorrow, bring Caleb to the hospital. Say it's for the blood work you mentioned. I'll make sure they do it, but I'll also run additional tests. And in the meantime, he pulls a small recorder from his pocket. I recommend you use this. Record any suspicious conversations with your wife or with Caleb when you're alone. We need to understand what's really going on. I take the recorder with trembling hands. And, for your safety, he adds, I insist on my recommendation. Don't sleep at your house tonight. Do you have somewhere you and Caleb can stay? I think of my sister Teresa, who lives on the other side of town. Yes, I could go to my sister's house. Good. Make up some excuse and leave with Caleb tonight. Don't tell anyone where you're going, not even your sister. Just say you need to stay for one night. Do you think we're in danger? I ask, feeling a chill. I don't know for sure, Mr. Miller. He answers honestly. But if what I suspect is true, we're talking about people capable of keeping a child unnecessarily in a wheelchair for 7 years. I don't know how far they would go to keep their secret. His words freeze my blood. I nod, putting the recorder in my pocket. One more thing, the doctor says before I leave. Check your house. Look for anything unusual, any documents, Any evidence that could explain why someone would do something like this. I will, I promise. I leave the hospital with my mind in a mess. How is it possible that my life, which I thought was built on solid ground, is falling apart like this? How could I not have noticed something was wrong for all these years? But as I drive back home, a spark of hope ignites in my heart. If all this is true, if Caleb isn't really paralyzed, it means he could get a normal life back. He could walk, run, play like any other young man his age. The possibility excites and terrifies me at the same time. What I can't understand is why. Why would Mary, his mother, do something like this? What could she gain by keeping our son unnecessarily in a wheelchair? Nothing makes sense. When I get home, I see the lights in Mary's study are on. She's probably working, as she often does at night. I go in quietly and head straight to Caleb's room. He's awake, reading a book. "Dad, where were you?" he asks. "Mom said you went to the shop." "Yeah, but I had to stop somewhere else first," I reply, sitting on the edge of his bed. "Hey, son, would you like to spend the night at your Aunt Teresa's?" His eyes light up. "Really? I haven't seen Aunt Teresa in a long time. Can we go now?" "Yes, but we have to be quiet. Your mom is working and I don't want to bother her with this. I'll text her when we get there." I help Caleb get dressed and pack a small bag with what he needs for one night. While I do, I turn on the recorder in my pocket. "Caleb," I say quietly, "can I ask you something?" "Sure, Dad." "How did you feel today with Dr. Morris? What did you think of him?" Caleb looks away. "He was fine. He's nice." "What did you talk about when I left the room?" I notice him tense up. "Nothing important. He asked me about school, my friends, things like that." "Just that?" I press gently. Caleb hesitates. He also asked me if I had ever tried to stand up on my own, and if I had ever felt like I could move my legs more than the doctors said. My heart races. "And what did you tell him?" "The truth, Dad," he says in a voice so low I can barely hear it, "that sometimes, when I'm alone, I feel like I could try. But Mom says I should never try because I could hurt my spine more." The revelation leaves me breathless. I try to keep my expression neutral, but inside I'm screaming. Everything Dr. Morris suspected seems to be true. "And have you ever told Dr. Rogers?" I ask, controlling my voice. "Yes, once," he replies. "But he told Mom, and she got really sad. She said I was confusing wishes with reality, that my mind was tricking me, and that if I kept saying those things, you would be disappointed in me." I feel something break inside my chest. My own son has been suffering in silence, believing I would be disappointed in him for wanting to walk. "Caleb, look at me," I say, taking his face in my hands. "You would never, ever disappoint me for wanting to get better, for wanting to walk. On the contrary, you would make me the happiest man in the world." His eyes fill with tears. "Really, Dad?" "Really, son," I reply, hugging him tightly. "And I promise you we're going to find out the truth. Together. Getting out of the house without Mary discovering us is easier than I thought. She's still locked in her study, probably on the phone, because I can hear the murmur of her voice through the door. I help Caleb into the car, and we put the wheelchair in the trunk. "Aren't we going to say goodbye to Mom?" Caleb asks. "She's very busy with work," I reply. "I'll send her a message when we get to your Aunt Teresa's." As I drive, my mind replays the day's events. It all feels like a nightmare, but the evidence is becoming clearer and clearer. In the back seat, Caleb seems unusually quiet. "What are you thinking about, son?" I ask, looking at him in the rearview mirror. "About what you said before," he replies after a moment. "About how you wouldn't be disappointed if I could walk." His voice trembles slightly, and I feel a mix of pain and rage thinking about what they've made my son believe. "Caleb," I say firmly, "I want you to know something. I love you exactly as you are. If you could walk tomorrow, I would still love you just the same. If you could never do it, I would still love you just the same. There is nothing, absolutely nothing you could do to change that." I see him smile shyly in the mirror. "Thanks, Dad." We arrive at my sister Teresa's house shortly after. She lives in a small apartment downtown. I haven't visited her in several months, and I feel guilty for showing up like this, unannounced. But I trust she'll understand. "John! Caleb!" she exclaims, surprised, as she opens the door. "What are you guys doing here at this hour? We need to ask you a favor, Teresa," I say as I help Caleb inside with his chair. "Can we stay here tonight?" Teresa immediately senses that something is wrong. "You always were sharp." "Of course you can," she replies without hesitation. "Is everything okay?" Where's Mary? I'll explain later, I say, glancing meaningfully at Caleb. For now, we just need to rest. My sister gets the hint and doesn't press. She's always been like that, discreet and understanding. She helps us get settled in her small guest room. Caleb can take the bed, she says. John! I'll set up the sofa bed for you in the living room. Once Caleb is comfortable and half asleep, I go out to the living room with Teresa. She's waiting for me with 2 cups of coffee. All right, spill it, she says in a low voice. What's going on? I hesitate for a moment. I don't know how much I should tell her. If my suspicions are wrong, I could be planting terrible doubts about Mary. But I need to trust someone, and Teresa has always been my support. I can't give you all the details right now, I finally say. But there's something strange with Caleb's medical condition. A new doctor today found irregularities in his files and recommended we leave the house for tonight. Teresa's eyes widen. Irregularities? What kind of irregularities? I'm not sure yet. I lie partially. I'm taking Caleb for more tests tomorrow. But for now, I need you to do me a favor. Don't tell anyone we're here. Not even Mom. And if Mary calls asking for us, tell her you haven't heard anything. John, you're scaring me, Teresa says. Do you think, Mary, I don't know what to believe yet. I interrupt her. I just know I need to protect Caleb until I understand what's happening. My sister nods slowly. You know you can count on me for anything, she says, taking my hand. Always. I know, Teresa. Thanks. I'm about to say something else when my phone starts vibrating. It's Mary. Teresa looks at me with concern. I take a deep breath and answer. Where are you? Mary asks, without a greeting. Her voice is tense. We went to Teresa's, I reply calmly. Caleb wanted to see her, and since we have to go to the hospital early tomorrow, I thought it would be a good idea to sleep here. And you didn't think to tell me? Her tone is cold, controlled, but I can feel the fury underneath. I left you a note in the kitchen. I lie. I didn't want to interrupt you while you were working. There was no note, she replies. I'm on my way to get you. That's not necessary, I say quickly. It's late and Caleb is almost asleep. We'll be back tomorrow after the hospital. There's a silence on the other end of the line. John, she finally says, in a tone I've never heard from her before, almost threatening. What exactly did that doctor tell you today? I feel a chill run down my spine. I already told you. Nothing special. Just that Caleb is progressing. Are you sure he didn't say anything else? She insists. I'm sure. Why do you ask? Another silence. No reason, she replies. It's just, I was worried he might have said something to make you act like this so impulsively. There's nothing impulsive about visiting my sister, I reply, trying to keep my voice casual. I used to do it all the time before Caleb's accident. All right, she says finally, but I want both of you home early tomorrow and I want to go to the hospital with you. Of course, I lie again. I'll call you when we're done. I hang up and look at Teresa, who has heard the whole conversation. I've never heard her like that, she comments. So, controlling. Me neither, I reply, although in reality, I've been noticing small, similar details for years that I always justified. That night, I can barely sleep. When I finally manage to drift off, I have nightmares where Caleb is standing, running towards me, while Mary chases him with a wheelchair. The next morning, we have an early breakfast. Teresa has made pancakes, Caleb's favorite. I watch him as he eats enthusiastically, and I wonder how many other things he's been denied all these years. Aunt Teresa, can I ask you a favor? Caleb says suddenly. Of course, sweetie, anything. Could you lend me some sweatpants? Mine are really old and I don't like them. Teresa looks at me, confused. Caleb, you know I don't have clothes in your size, she replies kindly. It doesn't matter if they're big on me. It's just, he looks at me, as if seeking approval. I want to try something today. I immediately understand what my son is thinking, and I feel a mix of pride and fear. He's taking the initiative to test his limits, to challenge what he's been made to believe for years. Of course, son, I tell him, I'm sure your aunt has something that will work. Teresa, not fully understanding but sensing it's important, goes to her room and comes back with a pair of sweatpants. They're a little worn, but they're comfortable, she says, handing them to Caleb. Thanks, Auntie, he replies with a smile I haven't seen in a long time. When it's time to go to the hospital, I help Caleb into the car, but before I put the wheelchair away, I stop. Do you want to try going without it today? I ask him quietly. His eyes widen with a mix of fear and hope. We can try, I reply. I'll help you. If you get tired or it hurts, we have the chair in the trunk. Caleb nods, taking a deep breath. I want to try, Dad. Carefully, I help him out of the car, and I support him as he tries to stand. His legs are shaking, but he manages to hold himself up. We take a few small steps. It's clear his muscles are weak from lack of use, but there are no signs of the kind of paralysis he should have according to his supposed diagnoses. You're doing great, son, I say, fighting back tears. It feels weird, he says. But good, like my legs remember something I had forgotten. We move slowly towards the hospital entrance. Every step is a small victory. Some patients and nurses look at us with curiosity, but no one says anything. At the reception, I ask for Dr. Morris. The receptionist tells us he's waiting for us in exam room 5. When we enter, his expression upon seeing Caleb walking with my help is one of both astonishment and confirmation. Good morning, he greets us, closing the door behind us. I see you've decided to try something new today. It was Caleb's idea, I reply with pride. Dr. Morris smiles at Caleb. That's very brave of you, he says. How do you feel? Tired, Caleb admits. But good, it doesn't hurt. That's excellent, the doctor replies. I'd like to run some tests on you today, if you're okay with that. Different tests than the ones you've had before. Caleb looks at me for my approval. I nod. Okay, doctor, he says finally. For the next hour, I watch as Dr. Morris performs various tests on Caleb. Reflexes, sensitivity, muscle strength. He helps him walk a few feet, bend his knees, move his feet in different directions. Everything that, according to previous diagnoses, should be impossible for someone with his supposed injury. Mr. Miller, can we talk in private for a moment? The doctor says when he finishes the tests. Caleb, would you mind waiting here? You can rest on the exam table. We step out into the hallway. Dr. Morris has a serious but determined expression. There's no doubt, Mr. Miller, he says in a low voice. Your son has no spinal injury that justifies the use of a wheelchair. His legs are weak from lack of use and he'll need intensive physical therapy, but neurologically, everything is working correctly. Although I already suspected it, hearing it confirmed by a doctor hits me hard. Are you absolutely sure? I ask, needing to hear it again. Absolutely. I've reviewed all the original scans I could find in the archives. The fall Caleb had 7 years ago caused contusions and a mild sprain, but nothing that affected his spinal cord. The subsequent reports, the ones that have been the basis of his treatment all these years, are clearly forged. I lean against the wall, feeling like my own legs might give out. Why? Is all I can manage to ask. Why would someone do something like this? That's what we need to find out, the doctor replies. But first I have to ask. Did you find anything last night at your house? I didn't have a chance to look further, I reply. We left right after I spoke with you. But yesterday, before coming to the hospital, I found receipts for bank transfers to Dr. Rogers in Mary's file cabinet. Large sums that don't correspond to medical consultations. Dr. Morris nods. That confirms my suspicion of bribery. But it still doesn't explain the motive. What do we do now? I ask. I've contacted a colleague who works with the police department, he says. Detective Esteban Torres. He specializes in cases of medical negligence and abuse. He's coming this afternoon to speak with you. In the meantime, I suggest Caleb stay here to begin physical therapy. We have an excellent rehabilitation team. And me? I ask. Should I go back home, confront Mary? Dr. Morris thinks for a moment. No, not yet. It would be dangerous without concrete evidence. Detective Torres will want to investigate your house, but he'll need a warrant. What you could do is go back when you know Mary isn't there and look for more proof. Any documents, any evidence that explains why they've kept up this charade for so many years. I nod. The idea of sneaking into my own house feels strange, but I understand it's necessary. And what do I tell Caleb? I ask. The truth? I think he deserves to know, at least part of it, the doctor replies. Tell him the tests show his condition isn't as serious as we thought, that with therapy he can regain mobility. He doesn't need to know yet about the falsified documents or his mother's possible involvement. That would be too traumatic for now. We go back to the exam room. Caleb looks at us expectantly. I have good news, son, I say, sitting next to him. Dr. Morris has reviewed your tests and says your spine is much better than we thought. With therapy, you'll be able to walk normally again. His face lights up with a joy that breaks my heart. 7 years. They stole 7 years of a normal life from him. Really? He asks, looking back and forth between the doctor and me. You're not just saying that to make me feel better? It's the truth, Caleb, Dr. Morris confirms. Your legs are weak from lack of use, but with intense therapy, you can make a full recovery. Caleb starts to cry, first silently and then with sobs that shake his whole body. I hug him tightly. Everything's going to be okay, son, I whisper. I promise. When he calms down a bit, Dr. Morris explains the plan. He'll stay in the hospital for a few days to start intensive therapy. He assures him that I can visit him every day. And Mom? Caleb asks. Dr. Morris looks at me, letting me answer. Your mom is very busy with work, I say, hating myself for continuing to lie, but knowing it's necessary for now. I'll explain everything to her, and I'm sure she'll come see you soon. Caleb nods, though I see a hint of doubt in his eyes. After leaving Caleb with the physical therapist, Dr. Morris takes me to his office to speak more privately. Your wife has probably noticed by now that you didn't go home, he says. Has she called you? I check my phone. There are 5 missed calls and several texts from Mary. Yes, I reply, but I haven't answered. Good. Stay away for now. When Detective Torres arrives, we'll decide how to proceed. I nod, but a question keeps nagging at me. Doctor, there's something I don't understand. If all this is true, if they've been deceiving us all these years, how did they get Caleb to cooperate? I mean, he must know if he can move his legs or not. Dr. Morris sighs. In cases like this, psychological manipulation is very powerful, especially when it starts at a young age. If an 1-year-old boy is constantly told he's seriously ill, that any feeling of improvement is just his imagination, that trying to walk could cause permanent damage, eventually he'll believe it. And if they also make him fear disappointing his father, as seems to be the case, he doesn't need to finish the sentence. I understand perfectly what he means, and I feel sick thinking about the psychological damage they've done to my son. Do you think he'll be able to recover? Not just physically, but mentally? Mentally, the doctor completes. Yes, with the right support. Caleb is young and has already shown incredible strength. The simple fact that he wanted to try walking today shows that, deep down, he has always known the truth. His words give me a little comfort. My phone rings again. It's Teresa. I have to take this, I tell the doctor. It's my sister. Go ahead. Teresa, I answer. John, Mary is here, my sister says, her voice tense and low, as if she's speaking where she can't be overheard. She's asking for you and Caleb. I told her you left early and I didn't know where. She doesn't believe me. Is she alone? I ask. No, Teresa replies. There's a man with her. He says he's Dr. Rogers, but I don't like the way he's looking at me. John, I'm scared. I feel the blood freeze in my veins. Listen to me carefully, Teresa, I say with all the calm I can muster. Get out of there. Tell them you have an appointment or something urgent. Go to Mom's house and stay there until I call you. What's happening, John? She asks, her voice trembling. I'll explain everything. I promise. But right now, I need you to trust me and do exactly what I say. Okay, she says after a moment. I love you, brother. I love you too, Teresa. Be careful. I hang up and look at Dr. Morris. Dr. Rogers is with my wife at my sister's house, looking for us, I tell him. This is getting complicated. I'll call Detective Torres, he says, grabbing his phone. We need to speed things up. While the doctor makes the call, I walk to the window and look out at the parking lot. Among the vehicles, I think I see Mary's car. A shiver runs down my spine. Doctor, I interrupt his call, I think my wife is here. Are you sure, doctor? Morris asks, quickly coming to the window. That blue car? The Nissan, I point. That's Mary's. The doctor watches for a moment and then acts decisively. Come on, we have to get Caleb out of here, he says, taking his phone. I'll tell security not to allow access to anyone asking for you. We hurry to the physical therapy area where we left Caleb. We find him working with the therapist, trying to stand supported by parallel bars. Seeing my son fighting to reclaim what was stolen from him fills me with a mix of pride and rage. Is something wrong, Dad? Caleb asks, noticing our expressions. We need to move you to a different room, son, I explain, trying to stay calm, just as a precaution. Doctor, Morris speaks quickly with the therapist, who nods and helps Caleb sit in a wheelchair. This time, it's just a temporary measure to move him more quickly. I'll take you to the oncology wing, the doctor says. No one will look for you there. As we move through the hallways, my phone vibrates again. It's a message from Teresa. Mary and the doctor just left. They said they were going to the hospital. Be careful. I show the message to Dr. Morris. They're here, I confirm. Teresa just told me. The doctor nods and picks up the pace. We arrive at a room on the 4th floor, in a quieter area of the hospital. A nurse greets us and helps settle Caleb into the bed. This room isn't registered under anyone's name, the doctor explains. You'll be safe here until Detective Torres arrives. He should be here in less than an hour. What if they find us before then? I ask. Hospital security has instructions not to allow them access to this area, he replies. But just in case, lock the door from the inside, and don't open it for anyone other than me or Nurse Lucy, who just left. I nod, grateful for his help. Doctor. Morris leaves, promising to return soon with the detective. When we're alone, Caleb looks at me with a confused and scared expression. Dad, what's happening? He asks. Why are we hiding from Mom? I sit beside him, thinking carefully about what to say. I don't want to lie to him anymore, but I also don't want to overwhelm him with the whole truth at once. Caleb, there's something you need to know, I begin, taking his hand. Doctor, Morris has discovered that your condition isn't what we were told all these years. Your spine is fine, son. There's no permanent damage. With therapy, you'll be able to walk normally again. His eyes widen with astonishment. Really? But Dr. Rogers always said. Dr. Rogers was wrong. I interrupt him gently. Or maybe he didn't tell us the whole truth. Caleb processes this information, his face showing a mix of emotions. And Mom, does she know this? I take a deep breath. This is the hardest part. I'm not sure what your mom knows, I reply cautiously. But right now, we need to keep our distance until we clear everything up. There are people coming to help us. Is that why we're hiding? He asks, increasingly alert. Doesn't Mom want me to get better? His insight surprises me. He's always been a smart kid. I don't know for sure, son. I answer honestly. But we're going to find out together, I promise. Caleb is silent for a moment, as if processing all this new information. Then he looks at me with determination. I always knew, Dad, he says quietly, or at least I suspected it. Sometimes, when I was alone, I would try to move my legs, and I could. But when I told Mom, she got really scared. She told me it was dangerous, that I could hurt myself more. She made me promise never to tell you, because you would worry too much. His words cut me like a knife. While I was working day and night to care for him, believing I was giving him the best, my own wife was manipulating him to keep him in that chair. And then, Caleb continues, every time I tried to talk about it, they gave me medicine that made me feel sleepy and confused. After a while, I started to doubt my own feelings. What medicine, Caleb? I ask, alarmed. I don't know exactly. Little white pills that Mom said were for the pain, but that doctor, Rogers, never mentioned when you were around. This revelation leaves me breathless. Not only have they kept him physically limited, but they've been drugging him to maintain his compliance. I'm about to respond when we hear raised voices in the hallway. I immediately recognize Mary's, demanding to see her son. The other, deeper voice must be Dr. Rogers. You can't go in there, another voice says, probably a security guard. Those are Dr. Morris's orders. I'm the patient's mother, Mary yells. I have a right to see my son. I'm sorry, ma'am, but I need direct authorization from Dr. Morris, the guard replies. Caleb looks at me, terrified. I hug him protectively. Don't worry, I whisper. I won't let them hurt you anymore. The voices fade, but I know Mary won't give up so easily. If I've learned anything in these past 2 days, it's that I don't really know the woman I married. My phone vibrates. It's a message from Dr. Morris. Detective Torres is here. We're on our way. Keep the door locked. Just a few minutes later, we hear a soft knock on the door. Mr. Miller, it's Dr. Morris. I'm with Detective Torres. I open the door cautiously. Dr. Morris enters, accompanied by a tall, serious-looking but kind man in his 50s. John Miller, Caleb. This is Detective Esteban Torres. The doctor introduces us. Nice to meet you, the detective says, shaking my hand. Dr. Morris has filled me in on the situation. What he's told me is very serious. Can you help us? I ask. That's what we're going to try to do, he replies. But first, I need to ask you a few questions to better understand what's happening. For the next half hour, the detective questions Caleb and me. Caleb tells him about the special medicine his mother gave him, about how she always told him he couldn't try to walk, and about the fear they instilled in him of disappointing me if he mentioned he felt he could move his legs. I tell him about the bank transfer receipts I found. The inconsistencies in the medical reports that Dr. Morris discovered, and Mary's strange attitude since we saw the new doctor. This is all very concerning, the detective says finally. We have enough to start a formal investigation, but we need more concrete evidence. What kind of evidence? I ask. Ideally, we'd find documentation that proves the medical fraud and explains the motive, he replies. If your wife and Dr. Rogers have been falsifying medical reports for 7 years, there must be a record somewhere, and above all, there must be a reason. Money, I suggest. It's possible, but it seems strange to me, the detective says. This type of fraud is too risky and prolonged to be just for money. Usually, there's something more. Dr. Morris, who has been listening silently, chimes in. Detective Torres, the security guards inform me that Mrs. Miller and Dr. Rogers are still in the hospital, trying to access different areas. We should detain them. We don't have a warrant yet, the detective replies. We can't arrest them without concrete evidence, but we can keep them away from Caleb. He turns to me. Mr. Miller, we need to access your house to look for evidence. Do you have any family or friends your son can stay with in the meantime? I think of my sister Teresa, but after what happened, I don't want to put her at risk. Caleb can stay here, at the hospital, Dr. Morris suggests. He'll be safe and can continue his physical therapy. That sounds good, the detective approves. And you, Mr. Miller, would you be willing to accompany me to your house to look for evidence? Of course, I reply without hesitation. I'll do whatever it takes. I go over to Caleb and take his hands. Son, I need to go with the detective to solve this. Will you be okay here with Dr. Morris? Caleb nods, though I see fear in his eyes. Be careful, Dad, he tells me. Mom, she's not who we thought she was. I know, son, I reply, kissing his forehead. I'll be back soon, I promise. Dr. Morris comes over to us. Caleb will be safe here, he assures me. We'll have security guards at the door, and only authorized personnel will be allowed in. As we prepare to leave, my phone rings. It's Mary. The detective signals for me to answer and put it on speaker. Where are you, John? Mary asks without a greeting, her voice tense. We're worried about Caleb. He's in good hands, I reply calmly. Dr. Morris says he can make a full recovery with therapy. There's a silence on the other end. What exactly did that doctor tell you? She finally asks, her voice now cautious. The truth, Mary, I reply. That Caleb doesn't have any permanent spinal injury, that he can walk, that the medical reports have been falsified for years. Another silence, longer this time. John, you don't know what you're saying. Her voice now sounds threatening. If you continue with this, there will be consequences. For you and for Caleb. The detective signals for me to keep talking. What kind of consequences, Mary? More lies? More drugs to keep our son sedated? Or something worse? You don't understand anything, she replies coldly. You never have. Everything I've done has been for the good of this family. Keeping our son in a wheelchair for 7 years was for our own good? I ask, unable to contain my outrage. How can you justify that? You have to listen to me, Mary insists. There are things you don't know that you wouldn't understand. Come home, and we can talk. The detective shakes his head, warning me not to agree. No, Mary, I don't trust you anymore. If you want to talk, it will be in the presence of the police. The police, her voice cracks for the first time. You called the police? Yes, I confirm. Detective Torres is with me right now. There's a murmur on the other end of the line, as if Mary is talking to someone else. Then, her voice returns, now completely different. It sounds almost resigned. I see. I suppose it was inevitable, she says. But before you jump to conclusions, you should know it wasn't my idea. It was all planned by your Uncle Ernest. This revelation leaves me stunned. My Uncle Ernest is my father's older brother, a man I've barely seen in years. There was always tension between them, but I never knew exactly why. My Uncle Ernest? I ask, confused. What does he have to do with all this? Everything, Mary replies. He organized everything, from the beginning. He promised us a lot of money, John. Money we desperately needed after you left the shop to take care of Caleb. I don't understand, I say, feeling the world fall apart around me. Why would my uncle want to do this to Caleb? There's another silence. And then Mary's voice, now almost a whisper. For your father's inheritance, Caleb is the only grandchild, the only direct heir after you. If something happened to you and Caleb was declared incapable of managing his assets due to a disability, Ernest would be next in line. My mind reels, trying to process this information. My father, who passed away 10 years ago, had left properties and a significant savings account. I inherited everything, but I never paid much attention to it because I was focused on my shop and my family. You're telling me that all these years of suffering for Caleb, was about money? I ask, incredulous. Not just money, John, Mary replies. Your Uncle Ernest always believed your father betrayed him in a family business. This was his revenge, to destroy what your father loved most, his son and his grandson. Detective Torres looks at me gravely. This confession is more than we hoped to get over the phone. Mrs. Miller, the detective, intervenes. I recommend you turn yourself in voluntarily. What you've just confessed is very serious. We're talking about medical fraud, child abuse, conspiracy. I know, Mary interrupts, her voice now completely defeated, but I need you to understand, it wasn't all my idea. They pressured me, manipulated me. A judge will decide that, the detective replies. Where can we find you? I'm in the hospital parking lot, she replies. Dr. Rogers just left. He said he had to destroy some documents. What documents? The detective asks quickly. The originals of the medical reports, the payment receipts, everything. He keeps them in a safe in his private office. There are also copies at our house, in a secret compartment behind the closet in our bedroom. The detective looks at me, nodding. This information is crucial. We're coming to get you now, Mrs. Miller, he says. Don't try to run. I won't, she replies. I'm tired of running. I just want to see Caleb one more time to apologize. A judge will decide that. The detective repeats and ends the call. We move quickly. Detective Torres calls his colleagues to detain Mary in the parking lot and sends another team to Dr. Rogers' office. He and I head to my house to retrieve the evidence Mary mentioned. During the drive, my mind keeps spinning over everything that's been revealed. My Uncle Ernest, whom I've barely seen in years. The revenge against my father. Mary manipulated, or a willing accomplice. It all feels like a nightmare I can't wake up from. Mr. Miller, the detective says, interrupting my thoughts. I know this is extremely difficult for you, but you need to focus on the positive. Your son is okay. He can recover. And now you have the chance to rebuild your lives. I nod, grateful for his words. He's right. Despite all the horror, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Caleb can walk. He can have a normal life. And I'll be by his side every step of the way. When we get to the house, the detective insists on going in first. As a precaution, once he confirms it's empty, he leads me to the bedroom I shared with Mary for over 20 years. Following her directions, we move the closet and discover a panel that slides open, revealing a small compartment. Inside is a black folder with documents. The detective puts on gloves before opening it. It contains exactly what Mary described. Copies of the forged medical reports, receipts for bank transfers, and something else. Photos of Caleb taken in secret, at times when he was trying to stand up when he thought no one was watching. Alongside these are notes detailing his progress, as if they were documenting that he, in fact, had no real paralysis. But the most shocking thing is a handwritten letter, addressed to Mary, and signed by my Uncle Ernest. In it, he details the entire plan, how they would take advantage of Caleb's minor accident to turn it into something much more serious, how they would manipulate the doctors, how they would keep me in the dark, all with the ultimate goal of destroying Raphael's son just as Raphael destroyed me. The detective reads the letter with a grave expression and carefully places it in an evidence bag. This is more than enough, he says. With this, and your wife's phone confession, we have a solid case. My phone rings. It's Dr. Morris. Mr. Miller, good news. They've detained your wife in the parking lot, and the police just arrested Dr. Rogers as he was trying to leave town. Caleb is safe and asking for you. Tell him I'm on my way, I reply, feeling immense relief. How is he? Surprisingly well, the doctor says. He's a very strong young man. The therapist says his progress is remarkable. He can already stand without help for several minutes. Tears of joy stream down my cheeks as I hear this. My son, my brave son, is getting back what was stolen from him. Back at the hospital, I run to Caleb's room. As I enter, I freeze in the doorway. Caleb is standing, holding onto the parallel therapy bars they've installed in his room, taking small, shaky but determined steps. When he sees me, he smiles with a mix of pride and hope that both breaks and rebuilds my heart at the same time. Look, Dad, he says, taking another step. I'm walking. I hug him tightly, letting the tears flow freely. They are no longer tears of sadness or anger, but of deep gratitude and hope. Yes, son, I tell him, you're walking, and no one will ever stop you again. In the weeks that followed, as Mary, Dr. Rogers, and my Uncle Ernest faced trial for their crimes, Caleb and I began to rebuild our lives. His progress in physical therapy is astonishing. The doctors say his body always had the ability to function normally. He just needed to relearn what they made him forget. We moved to a small house in the country, far from the painful memories. I buy a piece of land where I set up a new auto shop, smaller but ours. Caleb starts to take an interest in mechanics, and we spend hours working together on old engines. One afternoon, as we're sitting on the porch of our new house, Caleb asks me the question I know he's been holding on to for weeks. Dad, do you think I'll ever be able to forgive her? He doesn't need to specify who he's referring to. We both know. I don't know, son, I answer honestly. Forgiveness is a personal thing, something only you can decide if you want or are able to give. What I do know is that we can't live trapped in the past, in the pain they caused us. That would be letting them continue to control us, even now. Caleb nods thoughtfully. Sometimes I think about her, about how she was before all this, the stories she read to me when I was little, how she hugged me when I was scared. Those memories are yours, Caleb, I tell him. No one can take them from you, and they aren't any less real because she later did terrible things. Have you forgiven her? He asks, looking me in the eye. I think for a moment before answering. I'm learning not to let hate and resentment consume my life, I say finally. I don't know if that's forgiveness, but it's the best I can do for now. Caleb smiles and looks back at the horizon, where the sun is beginning to set. You know, Dad, I think I will be able to forgive her someday. Not for her, but for me, because I want to be free, completely free. I look at him with pride and wonder. My son, despite everything he has suffered, or perhaps because of it, has developed a wisdom far beyond his years. You are the bravest and wisest young man I know, Caleb, I say, putting my hand on his shoulder. He leans against me, and together we watch the sun disappear below the horizon, giving way to a night full of stars. A new night in a new life, finally free from the chains they placed on us for so long. In that moment, as I hold my son, who can now stand on his own, I understand that true suffering isn't in the hardships we face, but in allowing those hardships to define who we are and what we become. Caleb and I chose to be free. We chose to live. If this story impacted you, give it a like and subscribe so you don't miss our next real-life stories. What would you do in John's place? Let us know in the comments.